Welcome to the Troy Kearns podcast, where we talk all things real estate, business, and entrepreneurship. Today, I have my good friends, Nick and Vera Marietta. Nick is a dynamo real estate construction flipper, guru, airplane owner, and him and Vera are a dynamo team. They're buying planes, they're flipping houses. You're gonna wanna make sure you stay all the way to the end and get inspired by these two dynamos. Welcome to the Troy Kearns Channel podcast, where we discuss all things real estate, business, entrepreneurship, and today I've got a very special guest with me today. Basically, this is someone who has built and flipped more homes than anybody else I have ever met. I believe it's about 9,000 or some God-forsaken number. How many is it, Nick?
6,500 remodels this year. Is going to be over 6,600.
Right.
Remodels alone. And we've done over 1,500 flips and wholesale deals.
So I have Nick Marietta and his significant other, Vera Chamberlain. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was worried I was going to mess up your name a little bit. So Nick, I got you. The cool thing about Nick is a lot of cool things, actually. One of the reasons we talked a long time back and forth, like never met each other. And then randomly we did like an
8 years to be exact.
Was it 8 years?
Yeah,
only?
8 years we talked back and forth and we never met each other.
That's crazy. So social media brought us together originally. Social media kept us apart originally. And now we're both in social media. I've never thought I would be in it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I shut it off for 2 years. Didn't want to be in it.
Who got you into it?
Just kind of got back into it, I guess, you know. Just
Right
took
on.
time. It was a pain in the ass, it seemed like at the time.
So I've got a bunch of questions that I wrote down for you, but I really want you to just tell. So I've done my demographics on our audience. Our audience is like 18 to 40, skewing 80% men. And, you know, they're guys like us who are trying to get ahead in real estate. So keep that in mind when you're answering these questions so that, you know, they can learn to earn over here. That's what we're trying to teach people, exactly what you've done. I mean, 6,500 homes is a ton of education. I learn from your Instagrams myself. I watch yours specifically to learn about construction. So I think that you bring a ton of value there, and I got a bunch of questions for you. Tell us about your story.
All right. So you're in Kansas City. I grew up in a small town in Iowa on a farm and started a business when I was 4, pushing a lawnmower.
4.
Had no money. Never went to school. Never really had a lot of friends. I just worked a lot. You know, I just was fascinated with working in like machinery and, you know, real estate and all that kind of stuff. After high school, I started a concrete business. You know, that was before the Frank Dodd, you know, days when you could just borrow money and it was easy and like whatever. Well, about 4 years later, I didn't know how to manage it and was bankrupt. I woke up one day, had $300 in my bank account and couldn't pay any of my vendors, couldn't pay my house payment. I drummed up some stuff I sold in the newspaper. I seen an ad for real estate framing in Phoenix when it was booming in 2005. Took a trip down there, came back. I got enough money to get a U-Haul truck. I loaded that thing. I called my banker, told him the utilities were on for 30 days. He could have the keys to all my machinery. He could have all my real estate that I was behind on in payments.
Yeah.
Everything. And there was no money in the bank accounts. Every check had bounced at that point.
Wow.
And I moved down there and started framing houses. And that's what got me into real estate.
Can I go backwards a little bit?
Sure.
I mean, that sounds like, I know you're kind of like blazing through it pretty quick, but that sounds like a totally stressful point in your life.
Be scared to go to the grocery store because you might owe somebody money and you're going to run into them in a line. None of your vendors will give you any more materials. You try any new vendors. You try vendors that haven't heard about you. People don't want to work for you. And it just really came down to I had a bunch of machinery and I was paying the payments on the machinery and the machinery started breaking.
Right.
And when it started breaking, I didn't have funds set aside for it. And it just took me under. And, you know, I had a first successful 2 or 3 years, made a lot of money and then, you know, blew it. I was young.
Right. So no money management skills.
None.
Things are going well. You're getting fed by the decisions you're making.
Yep.
That almost sounds like a bad burr process.
Oh, it's a really bad. It's like 2007
Like
burr with no
set aside
equity.
money aside for
Right.
repairs and things
Right.
like that.
Everything goes down and you go down with it, you know? So
Wow.
it was the worst time of my life. I was so depressed. I had nothing. I only had a will to have a new start.
Right.
I had a 380 FICO score. I didn't even know you could go that low.
Wow. That's got to be, we got to put that comment below if your FICO is lower than that right now.
I think I won the contest for that. I'm sure.
Okay, good.
You know, and it was really a downtime in my life because, you know, the economy was booming in 2005 and so many people had money and I had no money.
Right.
And that is what really propelled me to really succeed, because when everybody started going down in the crash, I was ahead of them, like recovering, because I'd started 3 years before them.
You crashed first.
I crashed first. Yeah, I burnt hard, you know?
Wow.
And that's what really propelled me in my business.
Do you think that changed the way you did everything?
Yes, and it actually hurt me really bad too. There was 2 really bad negatives to it.
Okay.
Once you're broke, you work broke, right?
Broke mentality?
Yeah, like broke mentality. You do everything yourself. You change the oil in your car. Okay. You go to the grocery store, you cook your meals, you prep them, you do your own laundry, you clean your own house. Instead of refining a skill, okay, I spent all my time trying to save money, not paying people to do things. And you know what? You get paid for the things you solve in life. And
bingo. You
know,
100%.
And, you know, grocery shopping doesn't pay.
Right.
Doing laundry does not pay.
No.
Changing oil does not pay.
No.
Refining my skill in real estate is what's paid me.
100%. And, you know, it's some of that hard work ethic that we have, the things that like changing your oil and going and folding your laundry that your parents probably taught you, a good work ethic, and that pride that we have letting go. Like I'm going to take out my own garbage. I'm going to do all this stuff. If I'm not going to do it, nobody else is going to do it, which is the good attitude. But at a certain point in time, you have like an identity crisis, right? Yeah. I'm like either this super good real estate developer or I'm the guy that does laundry, and I'm a good real estate developer, but I got to set aside 2 hours a week to do my laundry.
Yeah. You know, and when we were talking about that earlier, the biggest thing is think of where I'm at today. Right.
Right.
My biggest expense is $120,000 a month on my jet. Okay.
Right.
So I went from changing my own oil, I had to clean my own house, to $120,000 a month for a personal jet to just sit there before I even fly.
Man. Must be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on my list of questions. We're going to get into that jet for sure. Anyway. So like in terms of like your mindset at that time, you know, I understand that mindset because I was also broke in 2000. So a little bit to kind of backtrack on your story. So in 2005, I was just hustling, selling radio advertising, and my cousin is down here as a gym teacher, right? And he's like, he knows I'm this successful sales guy, which I was, but I'm not a business guy. And I'm trying to be a real estate investor. I bought my first condo. I bought my second flip, which I did all the work myself on and stuff like that. And then he knows I bought 2 houses. So he's telling me, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house in Vegas. What do you think I should do? And I'm like, well, I'm the guy that knows real estate because I got 2 houses. And he's like, it's going up 30 to 40% a year here. You're not going to lose. You're doing great. And then lo and behold, I buy 2 houses in the top of the market in Vegas, lose cash flow, $2,500 a month on it. And that changes my whole, I hang on, barely, like freaking fingernails coming off and the whole thing. Like I'm hanging on for dear life.
You didn't call your banker and just leave the keys on the counter like me?
You know, I had such indecision. I'm a very slow, so like with the social media, it took me 2 years to jump in. But once I jump in, once I actually make the commitment, I'm all in.
Yep.
Right. And so I had a hard time making that decision. I never let it go. I learned from it a ton by solving the problem that you talked about. And that was a great thing that you said. Like, you know who else said that? Who's one of my big mentors is Sheldon Adelson. Yep. Sheldon Adelson, who built the Venetian and the Sands and all the big things in Vegas, who recently passed away. Rest in peace, Sheldon Adelson. He said, you know, I used to be able to tell you could make a roadmap to success and I'd be worried but people would follow it. But then I realized that you can make the roadmap, nobody's going to follow it. And he goes, the number one way to make money is to solve problems.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I totally agree with that. I only think in solutions. Like right now, I got to show you my house. Like so you hire an architect, right? Then you start framing the house and you get in the house and all the bedrooms are laid out and you're like, our master is too small. And we have all these corners that we can't now go. And now we have to extend out maybe. And like, we have these problems. I know you probably would have seen that ahead of time.
Yeah. You would have taken a tape measure and laid out the room and go, is this big enough or not? You know, in a square.
Yeah, I wasn't there that day. And I wish I would have been, but now we're going to go back and have to make some changes. But, you know, that's construction, right? Yep. Is there not one job that you're not making a change on?
Every job gets changes. You know, she added 2 wall sconces to a wall that I'm like, they're not wired for that. Well, I ordered them.
Right. And you know? Let's talk about that. So how long have you all been together?
All right, so let me finish up my story real quick.
Okay.
So before we all go there,
Yeah.
just so everybody wonders how I got where I got, right?
Right.
Because that's an important part, and I'm going to do it in less than a minute. So I moved to Phoenix. I started a construction company, and about 5 years later, I moved to Las Vegas because it was so much easier to get around and brand myself. And I set a toilet on a job. That led to working with real estate investors back in the day when I didn't know anything about hard money and social media wasn't around.
Right.
After doing about 1,000 flips, I'd made enough money and ran into enough people with money. I'm like, I'm making these people rich. Why am I continuing to do this? Right.
Yeah.
And that's when I started my real estate journey. I worked from the backside. So I was a contractor fixing all their stuff. I learned investing from the opposite side that didn't cost me anything.
Right.
I watched all their mistakes, 10 different investors I'm working for. I watched how they buy them. I did everything. And once I got enough money and raised some money, I just did 1, then I went to 2, then I went to 3, and then I went to 4 and just kept going. I didn't know what a comp. I'm like, what is comp on a property, right? Didn't know any of this stuff.
Right.
And that's what led me down the path of making a ton of money, found myself in a horrible relationship.
Right.
After being with, I have nothing bad to say about my ex-wife, but it was horrible for me for the fact that it wasn't meant for me, right?
Right.
It just didn't work. And I had to end that in 2019, and I had to find myself.
Okay.
And, we're in 2021, almost 2022.
Right.
And mysteriously, this year, when you ask how long we all been together, I actually got hooked up with Noah Herrera to go on an estimate, and I met her on an estimate, and we were dating like 3 days later.
All right. So when was that estimate?
So that was this year
It
in
was on a Monday. We spoke on the phone because I was interviewing contractors for a flip I was doing.
But I was interviewing her as a girl, instead.
And he looked me up on Facebook and was like,
Oh, so he's Facebook stalking you right away.
Yeah, stalking on the phone, 2 hours on that conversation the first day on my interview as a contractor.
Yes. And then we met the next morning.
So was there a red herring in there somewhere?
Definitely.
Okay.
And then, the next morning we walked to my property, and honestly, I was just blown away by him as his
force of nature,
of as a contractor, everything about his professionalism. It was almost, and I love real estate so much, and I love what I do, and I love design, and I love architecture. So it's like he was speaking my love language essentially by moving walls around, setting things up in different
Sweet
ways.
talking,
and
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think you should let her speak for you more often, because it's like my wife, when she speaks for her, I'm like, that sounds a lot better coming out of your mouth than it did mine.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of why I let her go into it. And you ask how long we've been together. It's been 8 months now, and we're inseparable. We have 7 luxury flips going together, and she's just doing all the design. We work together.
Let's talk about that. So I was Facebook stalking you or something like that. I think I came across a record-setting flip that you guys did. I saw some really absolutely crazy designs that I would be too scared to ever try. So I know that you were behind that, Vera.
Yes.
And this is like a house that you set a record on, like $599 or $699 or some small house that
just recently.
Yeah, can we talk about that one?
Yeah, it's downtown.
So it's downtown. So it's a modern. What do we call that?
In the Huntridge neighborhood, downtown Las Vegas.
Okay, Huntridge neighborhood, downtown Las Vegas. How big is the house?
It is 1,308 square feet.
How much did you pay for it?
210,000.
1,308 square feet.
Yep.
We call that like a C location.
Or a D.
Or a D if we're being C if we're nice, D if we're being honest.
It's really, no, I'd say it's getting to C.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's still D. So it's D plus.
It's gentrifying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it would be 20,000 rental back when I was buying, and currently, and you have it in contract right now?
It closed on Friday.
It closed on Friday. We can't say the address?
Yeah, why can't we? Who cares?
Yeah, it's already closed.
Yeah, it's closed. I don't care. I have nothing to lose on it.
Don't you think for the owners?
No.
It's his property to talk about. 910.
We owned it legally. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So 910 Sweeney, we will take it out we'll send this to you before we post it. Okay.
Let's ask a realtor.
Yeah, no, I'm not a realtor. It doesn't matter.
I'm licensed. It don't matter.
It doesn't matter?
No.
Okay.
It's his property. Who's the owner?
Yeah, I can talk about any property I want.
Yeah, any property, unless he signed a confidentiality agreement with him.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
I can tell you, you cannot walk on property without permission. I've done that. I walked that, and we posted it, and then some guy who was working on the job was like, and I was like, delete. We're taking that one down. Like it was like one of the biggest houses in Vegas, and it's obviously not mine, and I didn't have permission to be on there and everything. Like
Sounds
that.
like you.
Yeah, pretty much. So okay, so you guys bought this property, and the address is a mystery at this point in time. We don't know if we're going to say it or not, but it's 1,300 square feet. You paid 200 and how much thousand?
10,000 for it.
$210,000. How much did you sell it for?
525 is what it closed at.
So that's like
$403 a square foot, right?
$403, and
Something along
the design was crazy. When I say it was spectacular, honestly, it's some of the stuff that my interior designer tries to show me, and I said, no way. I say, no way am I trying that. No way. But you were willing to try it.
Yeah, it was like I knew that it would sell in today's market. I mean, the problem is everybody's sick of everything, and we're doing luxury real estate. And any of our flips, really, we're not doing it the same as anybody else. I want to be completely different. And that's one thing about Vera does is she's like 6 to 12 months ahead of the trend, but Vegas is like 2 years behind the trend, right?
Yeah.
And she's like,
really?
Yeah, it's like,
Who set the
yeah.
trend?
Well, the problem is,
flippers,
like
builders,
so
you know?
if you look, so we take our designs out of like $20 million properties, right? And that's like our inspo, and you got to whittle it down and try to make it look like in a $500,000 property what a 20 million. But you understand that you're bringing these luxury finishes from these high end properties and shoving them in these low end. That's why all the stuff is the same in the like really up to about $1 million in Vegas or 1.5 million. It's all the same. It's white shaker cabinets. It's white quartz.
And
It's
every single bathroom now is the Carrera marble tiles, which they aren't.
yeah. It's the
marble, but
yeah.
just like
Builder grade, inexpensive.
Everybody does that, and
but-
it's all over the bathrooms. But the buyer kind of still likes it because they're a little behind. in
Right.
Vegas.
So what we do is since Vegas is behind, she's showing me stuff that's like 6 months, like at trade shows and stuff that haven't hit the market yet or just right hitting, and there might be 1 out of 10 new builds that way. That's how she
Or things
designs.
that are going on in Australia or
Yeah.
Europe. That's
So
kind of where I kind of draw out inspiration from everywhere and from history. And
So I see all these things, Troy, and I'm like, no. And she's done it to me 7 times now. And now I'm like, we're winning. I'm like, okay. Like we have a property right now that's like 1.2 million, and it's got like blue and like when I say blue and pink and purple tiles, I'm thinking, like bright blue. But to me, they look that way. I'm like, we just ruined this bathroom. That's what's in style in all these other places, right?
Listen, here's one thing I have learned. Women make all the decisions for the buying, and you know that better than anybody, unless it's a bachelor buying your house.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you want to appeal, it doesn't matter what our opinion is, really.
No.
You know that. You're going to do whatever she wants because you just don't want to deal with the aftermath.
So I did my first construction job for her on her flip, and she like knocked out of the park. I'm like, I'm going to put my cup down for this. It was so heavy,
Right.
And her design was so crazy. I'm like, holy cow. And it all came together. And it was a lot of work. She put in, 100 hours into this property, but she won on it. She made like $100,000 on it,
So Vera, where did you get started with this? You're from Brazil. I think I remember you telling me the first time I met you. So you speak Portuguese. Can you say a little bit? Can you tell them to subscribe to our channel and like hit the 5-star button in Portuguese?
Aperta, não sei como é que é em português, like, subscribe.
That's the ticket right there, because that's how we get all the Brazilians.
Yeah.
I was like a big Brazilian following, actually.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Sao Paulo, apparently.
Yeah, if we put that on a reel, that'll hit. So, so how did you get involved in designing and in construction, and how did you come into Vegas?
I came into Vegas because I have a bohemian soul and a nomadic soul, and my ex-husband wanted to move here, and he has family out here, and I'm always game for moving to another city because I've done it many other cities, so it seemed like a good idea.
So what other cities have you moved to?
I have lived in Washington, D.C., New York City, in the East Village specifically, and Miami, like specifically South Beach, and of course Rio.
Of course, Rio. Yes. Okay. So I see a lot of your Miami in your designs. So
Yeah.
Morris Lapidus designed all of Miami. He's a famous architect there. He's got a you'd actually identify with, because his whole style was too much is not enough.
Yeah, that's very Miami for sure.
Very.
A lot of white. I am definitely a big white walls speak to me for some reason. I like a gallery feel in a way because I like since there's so much stuff all around all the time and so many colors coming at you, and whether it's your tchotchkes or who knows what, it's just nice to have white walls.
I agree. So, and I agree that you should always have a woman designing your flips for you, because I happen to think I'm a pretty good designer. I'm sure you think you're pretty decent as well, because we've done a lot.
I had designed all my flips before her, and it's like
no, pretty good.
When I look,
I think I saw like 90% gray vinyl in like.
Well, hold on. 2018, I did 197 flips that year.
How many of them had gray vinyl in them?
Nope. They all had the Dulce quality cabinets. They had Monte Rosa granite and or New Venetian, and I laminated everything
with gray.
And I bought pallets and pallets and pallets and pallets. But I was trying to make $12,000 a house, and that's my average is like 11,900 something.
Right.
And it didn't matter. They just needed a clean house.
Right.
But after that, I had to get creative, and that
I used to call Josh the waterfall guy, but I'm going to call you the gray vinyl tiny, because I remember everything. I was like, okay, he must have just got a good deal on that stuff.
No, actually, it was just easy because I superintended and bought all those myself.
Yeah.
So to do all that construction, all that myself, there was only one way, and I had to be able to get in and out with the same every time. My guys had to know this goes here every time, no matter what.
The one thing I know for sure about you is you're an intense dude. Like you're just intense. Like you don't have like an off switch. You probably do. We're very much the same that way. We don't like, I've been compared to you multiple times, like from Ryan Pineda and other folks. They're like, you're a lot like Nick Marietta. I said, yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing, because I like the way I am, but like, it's like get in, like when we first met, you're like, that's the way I am. Like jump in. We'll figure it out. You have enough confidence in your ability to figure stuff out versus the unconfidence to overthink it and not ever get involved with it.
100%.
Okay. So I cut you off a little bit. What were you about to say?
I
don't know. Okay.
I'm always thinking of things.
Okay. So I do. Okay. So this is a great question. This is for both of you. Vera, if you'd like to go first, I'd love to hear your answer. What is your routine?
Daily routine? Okay. We wake up pretty early. It's usually before the sun rises. It's like we try to work out first thing in the morning.
Good idea. Is
the best thing. And just get ready for the day. He usually gets ready faster than me for obvious reasons. And how
many times you go back for your phone? My wife's like 3 or 4.
No, I always remember my phone.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'm not going to lie. This man actually sets up my things for me to leave.
Oh.
He does that
That's
for
actually
me.
A good move. That's a good move. You want to make sure
it's out faster and efficiently. And
I set us up for success at anything we do.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter if it's making money or our relationship.
Oh, so you're that chess player. I got you. Yeah. That's good.
Yep.
So, okay. So what does your routine look like in the morning?
It's real simple. If I want to be lazy the night before, drink some beer, like eat some popcorn, watch $1 Million Listing till 10 o'clock at night, right. I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. because I gotta sleep because I do so much. I do like 24 hours worth of work. I try to do it in 12 hours by myself and my team, right?
Right.
So my routine is if I'm going to be strict, which I go like 3-6 months of being strict, and then I'm loose for a month or two, right?
You have to be.
And it's just how it is. So on my strict schedule, it's in bed by 8:39, lights out, up between 3 and 4 a.m. I'm usually try to creep out of bed, not wake her up. I go for a walk for 45 minutes to get like my mind right outside, get my body moving, and then I jump on and I run like between 5 and 8 miles. I'll do rowing for like 10 minutes and a 20-minute arm, shoulder, leg workout. And then I'm like upstairs, jump in the shower, cook some eggs. I'm out the door usually by 7 because construction starts,
Right.
You're
and then
usually gone before that though.
Yeah. And so she kind of gets ready, and I've pretty much got the day set up. Like for her, she's so busy, and like as a designer, her mind's like so broad that I set up her day usually the day before, and we have like 3 key points that we both work on for the day and try to get that done that day and focus on that. So my routine's out in front, building stuff, looking ahead, and then kind of like helping her. And then we both come to the office, I run out, and then we're done between 4 and 5, and we go home. We cook dinner almost every night, and that's our day.
That's sweet.
We just work.
You work
That's
and you
all
enjoy
we
each
do.
other's company. You guys do
Yep.
lots of traveling. And
Yep.
okay, now we're going to get into some nitty gritty. So you just made I'm going to say, like, my neighbor said something to me the other day. He goes, Troy, I got to hand it to you. I'm building a house out in Missouri, like I just told you. And he's like, you got balls. I'm going to tell you yours are bigger. Okay. I went out there, I'm building a house. That's a big deal. It's a freaking, a house. I've done that. We make mistakes. You've done a bunch of those. But you just made a huge purchase, like a monster purchase, like you got your mindset on this. I want to say like 6 months ago, I seen you started to kind of hint around about it, maybe 7-8 months ago. I don't know.
I think it's less than that, honestly.
Yeah, I was trying to give you a little bit of time. I think it might have been
July 4th. July 4th is when we did it. Started
When we
it.
hinting at it.
All right. So
Probably like a
what
couple-
we're talking about, if you don't know, Nick, what did you just buy?
I bought a private jet.
You bought a private jet. Can you tell us about this jet?
Yeah. So I kind of gonna start with a little bit of mindset about why I bought the jet
Okay.
before I get to the jet. You guys are gonna have to understand why.
Okay.
Because when I say this, it doesn't make sense to one person but me.
Okay.
Nobody. Anybody I
After
explain
he
this to,
says that, I'll add something too.
this purchase does not make sense to anybody. Okay.
Okay.
So I've been going all my life and I met her. Oops.
You're good.
I've been going all my life and I met her and she made a statement to me to quit selling myself short.
Okay.
And what I've been doing is I've been running my construction company, which I love building stuff. I just can't get out. I just love building stuff, right? No matter what it is.
Identity crisis.
Yeah. And she literally told me, you have so much value and you got to go do bigger things. And it took her 3 months of literally like trying to be nice to me, telling me how I was cutting myself short.
Okay.
And that's what strengthened our bond. And that's what strengthened our relationship, to realize my worth.
Right.
Because he was filling up his day with these lower paying tasks. For example.
Yeah. And you realized that.
Yeah, which was you know what? Frankly, I'm sorry, clients, but clients stressing him out,
Right.
and it was, and there's only so many hours in the day that he can accomplish so much. So I wanted him to focus on
his best skill set, which is him. At this point in your time, with the amount of properties that you've renovated, with the amount of capital that you have access to, with the social network that you have access to, is this your fiance? Is this your girlfriend? Fiance.
Yeah.
So you put a ring on it.
Yeah, I think there's the ring.
Look, should we get a zoom in on that?
Yeah,
thing?
it's about 4 carats.
Oh boy. Oh, that's the serious one.
Yeah, it's a serious one. It's my last time. After getting divorced once, I'll never get divorced again. I'm not doing it.
How was that?
It was rough. Lost all my net worth, like lost my mind. Like it was hard.
Yeah, I've heard that. Like, I never ever want to get divorced. I don't ever want that to happen. But I've heard that's really tough.
Yep. So let's go back. So at this point, I got in a car accident in March, knocked me in the dirt. Everybody didn't realize how sick I was. And that was the point. I'm like, okay, I am as low as you can get now. I'm behind on work. All my flips are sitting. All my team's running everything. Like everything's a mess. And I'm like, okay, when I get better and I can fight, I'm fighting one last time. And that's for my freedom.
Right.
I hadn't been fighting for my freedom. And she had talked me into it at the time when I was sick.
I think that's a major point that we need to stop right now and go down the rabbit hole a little bit.
Yeah.
When he talks about freedom, he's making lots of money here. He's traveling wherever he wants. He's doing whatever he wants to do, but he's answering to somebody. And he doesn't have any passive income coming in, right? I'm guessing.
Yep, it's all service and
active.
Active income.
Still something you have to create.
Yeah, you're not. And when we talk about passive income, we're talking about rental properties. We're talking about stuff that's coming in with less work versus the stuff that you're actively working to sell and to make that you're producing for a client or you're producing for yourself for a flip, but it's active. You're having to monitor it. You're having to hire people for it. You're having to sell it.
Yep.
So you just said
And it's finite. It ends at that moment.
Right.
Once
you're done, it's done, and it's not building anything. So that you said, I want to get my freedom. What did that look like to you?
Freedom to me is if I want to answer my phone, I will. And if I don't care who you are, I'm not going to answer it. If I want to go to work, I'll go to work. If I don't want to go to work, I'm not going to work. Basically, what it means is I'm going to do whatever the heck I want when I want at any cost. And I don't care what anybody says. And that's the way it is.
And if I want to get on my plane and fly up to Idaho to go look at property today, I'm doing it.
That's right. But more than anything, what it really came down to is selling myself short and being a slave to other people and being disrespected. That's really what it amounted to.
Do you think it's because maybe you're a pleaser?
Absolutely. 110%. I want to make everybody happy. It makes me feel good. I want to see other people succeed and I want to make them happy, right? But if you don't make yourself happy, you don't take care of yourself, you end up sick like me twice or in a car accident. And in these situations, I've made everybody else rich. Don't get me wrong. I have money, but I could have been a lot richer by changing my mindset.
Right. But you have I would call you a force of nature.
Yep.
You're like a speedboat and a battleship combined. Like once you lean into whatever you're doing and turn that thing around, it's like.
It's 100% how he is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just feel like you make up for, you're like my buddy, Eric Roth. You just make up for lost time. I just want to make sure this ain't anybody waiting on the outside of something. So you make up for lost time very quickly.
Very quickly.
What I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And basically, what is your goals now when you say I want to get my freedom?
Okay, so what had happened is I have real estate businesses, and at the time was 3 other cities, which was Omaha, St. Louis, Kansas City. And every time I go there, I mean, obviously Las Vegas is my biggest connections. I can make the most amount of money here,
right?
And whatnot, and my time's so valuable. And every time I want to go there, it's, Southwest used to have a flight that I could fly out of here at, 5 a.m. and get back at 9 o'clock at night. It's an 18, 19-hour day. And by the time I go there, drive 14 properties in 8 hours, get a car, go back and forth, and then come back here and work, it just kills you, right? I mean, the older you get, the harder it gets. It doesn't get easier.
That is true. That is true.
And what I had realized is I needed to make an investment on 2 things. I needed to make an investment to make a statement to don't mess with me, number 1.
Okay.
And I needed to make a statement that I have freedom and I'll be there whenever I want.
Got it.
And the only way to that was a private jet.
Okay, it's interesting. I think I may have told, the first time I was ever on a social media, it was on Ryan's podcast, and he's like, well, what's your goal? And I'm like, jet. And then you've already obviously accomplished that goal. And
but we don't own a skyscraper.
Well, I don't own one yet either. I'm working on that. So it will be a 10 story. So it may not be scraping the skies, but maybe scraping the clouds a little bit on a foggy day or something like that. But, I think that's a major move. And I admire you for making the move. I know that you went through everything. So can you tell us about what the shopping for a jet's like? How did you do your research? And I'm going to take you one step back. I have a fear of flying. I don't like to fly. It's a control thing. I don't feel good when I'm flying. I don't feel comfortable. I take sedatives when I fly. So when I'm in a jet, I'm not going to take a sedative, obviously, if I have my own pilot, because I'm going to be comfortable. I do what I want. And so in 2012, I went to go get my pilot's license because I figured if I knew how to fly the plane, I'd be way more comfortable.
That's smart. Yeah.
Well,
fears, yeah.
except for when you realize that facing that fear and not accomplishing what you want to accomplish lands into instant death. The cost benefit analysis, and I realized I am not comfortable. Even I was comfortable enough with the guy next to me flying to be able to say, he's like, you're ready to go solo. But in my mind, I'm not ready to go solo. Yeah. And if I'm not ready to go solo and I go solo and I'm not prepared and I panic up there, and something goes wrong, the benefit is death. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm good. Let's go work for a better scenario where I get a pilot to fly a jet for me.
Well, my broker said something, and he says, I tell every jet owner or airplane owner, when I get in, I go right. Because airplane doors are always on the left, right?
Right.
So on the left side of the plane facing forward. So the pilots go left, I go right, and I never have a problem.
Yes, 100%. And I'm with you on that. I have zero desire to fly my own plane anywhere. So you bought the jet. How much did you pay for this thing?
It was several $1 million. I'm not going to reveal exactly.
Was it over 3?
In that neighborhood, but a little bit below that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So what was your process when you went and bought a jet? What did you do? What did you think? What kind of research did you do? Who did you contact? How did you find out what to buy? Everything.
So here's what happened. I says, you know what? I'm going to rent a jet first because I'd never flown on a private jet.
Right.
So July 4th, we rent one. It's $7,500 to go to Newport and back for the day. It was like a Lear 45, 8-passenger, nice little jet, right? I'm like, you know what? For $7,500, that wasn't bad. You know, there's 4 of us or 6 of us. I think there was 5 or 6 of us. Yeah. It was fun, whatever. And I asked Adam, my partner, I'm like, is it worth it? And we did a YouTube
Was
video.
back and forth?
Yeah, one day.
$7,500 back and forth.
From Vegas to Newport. Yeah.
Yep, Newport Beach and back. And I'm like, okay. So then I said,
like 45-minute flight.
Right.
So then I put an ad on and I said, I'm flying to the Midwest. That was like the end of July. And I said, who wants to ride with me? I'll charge you $10,000 a head. So I got $20,000. The jet was like $22,000 to go round trip. So
you got 2 people that said yes.
Yep. And I went and trained them for 2 days, gave them their first flip, mentored them and helped them with their business. And jet was like $22,000 and then minus my team. So I basically flew for free for consulting.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, this ain't a bad gig. So then about 2 weeks later, I went to the same aviation company and I said, I want to do this trip again. And it went from $22,000 to like $35,000. And all of a sudden, the private air industry, like I couldn't get a jet anywhere at any time. I tried like 7 different brokers and all of a sudden it jumped. Well, guess what? August 1st is when the mask mandate went back in here and the vaccine mandates were starting back up and everything else. And people were starting to fly private again. And I says, how can a jet be operating at $22,000 and go to $35,000? Fuel hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. And I was still contemplating on buying one. And I said, that's it. I said, that's it. You're not going to take advantage of me. I can't stand it. Something's going on. I got to find out what's going on. So on that flight, Jesse, my plane broker, shout out to him.
Where's Jesse at?
He's in Henderson. He's got an office at the Henderson Regional Airport here.
Okay, if you're trying to buy a jet, is that the guy you want to talk to?
Fly.
7.
Yep, Hangar. It's Fly Hangar 7. I think it is. Jesse Mata, MATA.
We'll get the link.
Yep,
Okay, we'll put that link on
below.
there. And listen, I know that not everybody's in that category. I'm certainly not, but let's keep going.
So he buzzed me when I was renting one of those. His wife like contemplated the
power of social media. So his wife had been following Nick
Okay.
for many years and was always, look at this house he does. Da, 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 da.
Did you know she was following you?
No, didn't even. I mean,
He has a lot of followers.
Yeah, like
Yeah, you got like
300
380 something.
315,000 followers or something like that on
Okay.
Instagram.
Wow.
So apparently they were at home and she saw a post of him flying private and she said, "Oh, look, babe, Nick's flying private. Maybe you should reach out to him." And this is a story they told me. He was like, "Oh, I don't know." And she's like, "Yeah, do it." And then he did. So power of social media.
That's
So
right.
it was funny, and
Power
I'm
of women.
so I put her on it. I'm like, I don't have time for this task. Can you call him? So she
Can
called.
you
him.
buy a jet? Any woman worth her weight in anything will find you a jet, right?
Well, so she gets on, interviews with him, and then gets me on the phone, kind of go through it, and I get a spreadsheet, and I look at the spreadsheet, and I'm like, this thing can make money. I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, this thing can make money.
What did
And
you
I'm like-
see on the spreadsheet that told you that?
Oh my God. When I seen the rates, if I looked at the time, I looked at what it cost. Because when I travel, I have a travel.
So let's talk some specifics because I'm actually milking you for information for myself right
Yes.
now.
That's fine.
So I'm trying to find out exactly what those costs are.
So-
each plane's going to be different. Though,
Right, but I
So-
want to talk
so
about
I-
yours. Like, 'cause
So-
yours is perfectly fine. If I got that one, I'm okay with it.
So I own a Dassault Falcon 50. It's-
A Dassault Falcon 50.
Yep. They're about 16 million new.
16 million, you knew. What
Yep.
year is yours?
Mine's a 1988.
A 1988. Looks brand new. I see
Yeah,
that.
it's they have to be it's been repainted. The interior's done.
Celebrities try to.
Yeah,
rent it.
jets are all
Yeah.
about buying 30 or 40-year-old jets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
they run forever. I
Right.
mean, forever.
Southwest will tell you that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I look at the numbers. I look at the acquisition.
They had been
And then-
remodeled like a year before.
Okay.
Yep.
So jet flipping. Are you getting in the jet flipping business?
We actually are in the process of doing it. So we went and looked, and I looked at the numbers, and I'm like, okay, if I got 2 pilots, which it takes to fly,
right.
right? They're basically would
Why
be
does
on
it take 2?
case someone
because the
dies.
FAA
Oh, you mean
regulations.
2? Sorry. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, so 2 all the time is
Yeah,
in the plan.
PIC and PIC is first in command. SIC is second command on pilots.
Okay, so
Okay.
PIC is pilot in command.
SIC is second in command.
Yep. So if something happens, so PIC actually
someone
flies
to go to
it,
the
and then
bathroom.
SIC's, doing landing gear and all the other stuff, making sure everything's good, on the way down and up and whatever. And when a jet's in the air, it's on autopilot. You need to worry about the heights of jets, and that's it. If they're at the same level as you, got to make sure you're clear, right?
Right.
The way I understand it, I'm not a pilot, but I ask a lot of questions.
Airlift and drag, I think, also.
Yeah.
Into it.
So I looked at the
You
numbers.
probably know more.
I looked at the
Tough-
numbers.
Tough deal.
And I'm like, okay, I could afford this thing today if it never moved and I flew 250 hours a year. I can't afford it over that. I just can't afford it. It's the cash flow, everything doesn't make sense. And I looked and I said, okay, what does this jet cost me to fly 250 hours a year? To own it, have pilots, have a hangar, maintenance, fuel, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, everything.
And-
what's my holding cost
it-
and
it's-
flying it 250 hours a year?
High.
It's $1.5 million a year.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I'm making over $120,000 a month. I can afford this. I says, if this can get me to more locations and make money, I'll take what I'm making and I can go anytime I want, go wherever I want, and I can increase my width and my where I can get, right?
Right.
Like this, right?
Fortune favors the bold.
And I'm like this. I've wrote $100,000 assignments 8 to 10 months out of the year in one of my markets. Okay. So I'm like going, think about this. One market writes 8 or 10 $100,000 assignments. Okay. I'm in 4 markets and the markets ain't at full capacity. I'm only running my markets at 30% capacity because I can't get there and I don't spend the time building them out.
Right.
Think about the money I'm losing.
No,
So
listen,
here's what I did.
excellent.
So
Yeah.
here's what I did. I looked at the numbers and then I said, well, I'm chartering it. Why don't I charter my jet when I'm not using it?
Okay.
And the nice thing is there's an
Touring.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is there's an app. So if I want to go somewhere, they just wholesale another Dassault 50 to take my flight. I don't lose any money and I can use my jet whenever I want.
So how much? Let's go through those numbers because that's where I'm very interested in it. So
Yep.
you have your jet. Your jet payment is $120,000 a month.
No, the overhead. My jet payment's $32,000 a month.
Your jet payment is $32,000. The pilots are probably the same.
They're all right. So I'm gonna break this down for
Yeah,
you.
let's break it down. Let's go
Okay.
through every number.
All right. So I looked at it and I can actually make $1 million a year with my jet with 4 pilots. Okay. And I can fly 250 hours a year.
Let me actually mention this. So
Okay.
Jesse is telling him, okay, it's going to cost this much. Then Nick, the way he is about business, he just like starts crunching numbers and starts thinking, why not get 4 pilots and then explain what you were
I'm
saying.
like, let's run this like a business. So I start Nick Marietta Airlines. Okay.
Right.
I look at numbers. I'm like, hold on a second. I'm going to own a private jet and I'm going to make money.
Right. And that's a misnomer because they've been talking about that for years that airlines don't make money. But that's a false.
That's false. If you run it like a business, it makes money.
Right.
Okay. People don't run airlines like a business unless it's like commercial.
Right.
Okay. So hats off to Jesse. I put my faith in Jesse and I believe in Jesse because of the way he runs his business and the way that we work together. He's amazing. Right.
All right.
So here's the deal. I'm going to break this down.
You
for
almost got me sold. So keep going.
Okay. So go purchase a jet between $2 and $3 million.
Right.
Okay. I got a loan for 10% down
Okay. Right.
because I bought the jet for a price and it's worth about 500,000 more. So I bought 70 cents on the
Has
dollar.
equity on it.
Right.
So literally, I bought a jet like I buy houses, off market, never hit the market. I bought it right, and because of what it's worth, I only had to put 10% down on the jet. So I captured $500,000 worth of equity and put 10% down in this jet.
right.
Okay.
And you got bonus depreciation on top of
Well,
that.
we're gonna get to that.
was-
We're
yeah.
gonna get to that.
Right.
So the startup cost of the 10%, pilot training, the down payment, the time to get a hangar, the lease started. You have to buy. It's called an engine program. Okay, you buy into the Gold Star program. So my jet has 3 engines. Right. To buy into that program was about $22,000. The
They're
engine,
nice engines.
Okay, so anyway, you buy into the engine program, and it was because of the hours on the engines. Every 1,000 hours, the engines have to be rebuilt. Okay. And I'm like, man, I don't want to have this $1 million overhaul on my plane. What is there like a warranty program? And they're like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, let me buy in. Well, my engines had actually been rebuilt, and the owner that had it had them just rebuilt last year. So they're low hours, high hours yet to fly, right? I still have 900 hours on them, except one of them have like 250. So like you got to pay a little bit in. So I paid $22,000 for that program. And every hour I fly, it's $600. So every hour I clock flying, we just pay this warranty company $600 every hour at the end of the month. And I never have to pay for my engine. So like in 200 more hours, I got an engine going down. It's $300,000 to rebuild it. I don't pay anything. They come out one day in the hangar, give me a replacement engine, rebuild that, and then put it back in when when I come back, right?
That's sweet.
So every hour I fly, $600. That's part of the maintenance, right? And then I bought into a APU, which is your generator. So anyway, I bought into a generator warranty. It's like $116 an hour, 75,000 buy-in. I bought $30,000 worth of insurance up front. The airplane insurance is only $30,000 a year. I couldn't believe it for $200 million liability and insuring the asset with a $5,000 deductible. Could not believe it, right?
All right. So your all-in upfront cost is what?
My all-in upfront cost, cash out of pocket, was about $650,000.
$650,000, and then you got a note of how much per month. Your all-in every month is what?
Roughly $32,000.
But that's for the plane.
Yep, that's the plane.
What's the total?
My total overhead is about $120,000 a month that plane never moves.
Okay, so if the plane never moves, and so we're not including. So the only thing that's excluding that would be fuel, then, because you have everything else included. So you want it moving as much as possible.
Yep.
So so now we're going to work backwards. When you rent it out through your broker, how much money do you recapture?
I capture about, in today's market, about $4,200 a flight hour. Okay.
So what does the flight hour cost you?
Well, flight hours are based in two ways. So I have $120,000 a month of fixed costs. Okay.
Right.
And it costs me $2,400 an hour to fly. Okay. So if let me break that up. Let me redo this. Okay. So I have $120,000 a month in fixed costs: plane payment, hangars, salaries, insurances, warranties, everything.
You're
right?
all in.
Fixed costs. Every hour that plane flies, my maintenance and my fuel costs $2,400 an hour.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to take $2,400 an hour times how many hours you fly, right? That's an expense. And then you take your expense of $120,000, you add them together to get your break-even point.
Right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So if I fly my jet, for example, 150 hours, which is very doable in a month, which is 42.5 hours a week, right? Mm-hmm. Chartering, I bring in around $650,000. Okay. So
you're going fast, buddy. So we're going to have to slow you down.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to have to slow you down because you're going like turbo. You're going like Matrix numbers mode. And anybody who's watching this is going to be like, dude, I have no idea what this dude's talking about. All right. Let me
re-break that down for you.
Let's break it down like it's like.
Okay, maybe I'll say it. How about this? It's 120 fixed no matter what,
right.
Even if we never fly the plane.
Right.
And then it's $2,500 an hour for us to fly it.
$2,400 an hour.
$2,400 an hour
for maintenance and fuel
to fly the plane. Now,
what's your profit per month if you're renting it out on a good day?
It'll be based on
we will make between $4,200
an hour.
We will make between $90,000 and $120,000 a month, depending on if we have any major repairs that month, which could be miscellaneous stuff, $20,000 here or there, or inspections and stuff like that. But I put $600 an hour away in a bank account, right, for repairs, which gives me about $100,000 a month.
So it's $1,800 an hour profitable, right? Is that what I'm getting?
We end up making about $800 per flight hour. Okay.
$800 per flight hour.
Yep. It is profit if we're flying 150 hours a month. Now, what you got to understand is the plane can fly up to 200 hours a month, and I can make upwards of 150 to 175,000. So we're basing our average on 150 flight hours a month, chartered out.
And how's it going so far?
We're still in the initial setup stages. So first, before you pilot, the pilot industry is a little bit different. Before you go hire pilots, you want to make sure you have a plane and it's like you own it, right?
Right.
Because we have a liability if we go offer a job to somebody, they quit their job, come over for us. Like, it's a different industry. Like, you can be sued for that, right?
Okay.
So
it's heavily obviously regulated,
right?
by
FAA,
yeah. So first you buy the plane and you hire pilots by the day that are certified. They have to be certified for that specific plane.
Right.
Like that model.
It's called rating.
Yep. Yeah. So long story short, we're in the initial set. First, you have to buy the plane. So we bought the plane. We just get pilots that are rated. We pay them a premium, obviously, when we fly now. And you have to obtain a 135 charter certificate. That is so you can make money with the plane. It's kind of like having a real estate license, right? I'm going to say I have my wholesale license. 91 charter is private, where you can't charge any money. It's illegal. Okay. So like if I take you on my plane right now, and we're flying 91, I cannot charge you money. Okay.
Right.
I have to charge it as a consulting business through one of my other businesses, or I can get in trouble.
Right.
Okay. Very heavily regulated.
But we would have to be, one of the owners has to be on the flight.
Yep.
Yep.
Gotcha.
One of us has to be on the flight.
Could you be on FaceTime?
Yeah, sure.
FaceTime.
No.
Wait, hey, everything's possible till you're told no, right?
Right. That's 100%.
So long story short, We're in the initial setup of the phase. We got the pilots. Our pilots will be ready to go to December 1st. So we purchased the plane October 18th. So it's taken us about 6 weeks to get up and going, and we'll be running on December 1st. So right now it's just an overhead. It's just clicking away.
But so we got to do another update in a few months and see what's going on then.
Yep.
All right. I want to jump on to another topic. I feel like we've got the plane thing going. That's going to be hard for a lot of people to even just figure out the fact that you bought a jet airplane. I don't want to say plane because planes are like, you can buy a plane for $25,000. You can buy a plane for $50,000. You bought a freaking jet.
Yeah.
And a jet, you need a pilot that's got an instrument rating of a certain thing. They keep going up and up and up. The bigger the plane is, you know. And so you had to hire some good pilots that are actually rated. They got to pay good money to and stuff like that. So they'll fly for you. And I did see your Instagram. So you have actually people serving you drinks on there too. That costs money as well. Yeah. Drinks cost money.
Worth it though.
100.
Stewardess is 100% worth.
Oh yeah. I mean,
yep. And so at the very end of all of this, why did I buy the plane? I bought the plane for two reasons. One, to make a statement, that I'm not messing around.
Okay.
I'm serious about my business.
Right.
Number two, I bought it to get anywhere I want and the tax advantage to it. Right. Okay. The tax advantage, you can do a bonus depreciation your first year if you fly a certain amount charter and a certain amount, 135 and a certain amount 91. The benefit for me was either give the IRS $640,000 or deduct that plane and put it into my startup costs. So the IRS started my business for me.
Right. Another thing the IRS can do when you invest in real estate, if you look up cost segregation, and because of the CARES Act back in I think it was 2020, because of COVID, the CARES Act allows you to carry back your paper losses.
Yep.
So if you have more losses, those bonus depreciation is actually a deferred loss, right? You could take that money and go recapture any taxes you paid in the last 5 years. So if you stroked a check to the IRS in the last 5 years, you can get all that money back.
Yep. Which I did.
Okay, good. Well, I'm happy to hear that. So I do have a few more questions here. If you're listening to our podcast right now, please make sure you give us a 5-star review. We're working hard for you. Nick's in here working hard for you. Vera's in here working hard for you, trying to provide you content that you can learn to earn from. We've got a guy who's flipped over 6,500 homes. He's buying a jet. He's making big moves. Why is he making big moves? Because he realizes he wants his freedom. And that's what you want. If you're listening to the show, I own over 350 rentals. I started from nothing. I got a 1.8 GPA. Nick got kicked out of his hometown. We all have had our falls. We've all had our scrapes. And the guy who keeps swinging and keeps fighting is the person, or the gal who keeps, not gal, it's a bad word. The lady who keeps swinging and fighting is going to get to the top. So what's your next move?
What's my next move? Luxury real estate.
So let's talk about that. So my good buddy Jason Abrams has been flipping a ton in Spanish Trails. He, as you know, has a property under contract at a very high price, which which I cannot disclose. Which I cannot disclose. But he told me on the golf course the other day that he gave you a few suggestions and that you rolled with all of them, and he was pretty happy about it because he says there's another guy in there doing Home Depot finishes, and that you're going all the way, and he's like super excited about somebody else doing something like that. So tell us about what you're doing with your luxury real estate plays.
So thanks, Jason. Shout out to you. Great
Jason
guy.
Abrams.
Yep. Thank you. Helps me a lot. And I'm trying to help him also. So when it comes down to it, I bought the jet because I realized that I needed to get more places. The next thing I realized is I've been playing too small. Right. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of these small flips, and I have to do all these flips to make like 20 grand each, right?
Right.
By the time I pay the taxes, if there's nothing to put it into, I'm ending up with like 12,000, right?
Right. And what's the risk? How much are you risking?
I'm risking $300,000
to make 15.
Yeah, exact 12 after taxes, right?
Right.
And I was so scared to get into big real estate. I should have did it a long time ago. And I actually bought my first one. And that was the first luxury I bought.
Wow.
It was the biggest one I owned. And I walked into it and I just seen value. And Vera helped me identify the value of luxury and like where the gap was. That was a big thing from her.
I mean, for me, it just seemed obvious that it's like, yeah, the higher the risk, but the higher the reward we're going to get out of it. And I think especially this market right now in Vegas is so hot, and it's like such a concentration of flippers, right? Like everybody's just like grabbing everything
Right,
up. So
right.
I feel like, but the luxury market, you know what? Not everybody can do that.
That's
Not
true.
everybody's going to have
Not
the deep
everybody.
enough pockets or the private
Or
lender
the skill set.
Yep. So,
Or the
so what I
skill
did
set.
was I decided that I'm going to do luxury real estate in Las Vegas, and that's it. And then I got to thinking, I'm like, I'm going to move one of my operations to Orlando. And then I've been wanting to go to Coeur d'Alene, which we went to like 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And I'm like, okay.
Do you know Robert Coomer?
Uh-uh.
He's got a big house in Coeur d'Alene. If you ever go out there, you should hit him up. He's a local guy, good friend of mine, and partner on soon to be a couple properties. And he has done millions and millions of dollars. Yeah, you should hit him up. Honestly, hit him up. He's got an Airbnb on the lake.
Yep. So anyway, as I started looking at this, and after I purchased a jet, I realized that it takes me really just as much work to do these big ones as it does the little ones, but I can do more of them.
We were doing luxury before you bought a jet.
I'm explaining. So anyway, whatever. Long story short, I started with one, and now we have 7 in Vegas. We have about $10 million in luxury homes in Las Vegas.
Let's go through the one in Spanish Trails because I know
Yeah.
that one. It's on the turn.
Yeah,
when you
I don't know
turn.
what it is. What whole? I don't even know.
7th,
Don't-
I think.
Yeah,
It's
7th. Yeah, it sounds right.
So you bought that property a few months ago. How much did you pay for it?
I paid 1.53 million for it.
How much are you putting into it?
Originally, it was going to be 400,000.
So it went
And
down.
Now going to be 1.2 million.
All right. So 1.3 plus 1.2 equals.
1.53 plus 1.2 is 2.73 million.
Okay. So
But then now the comps support it to be at 4 or 5.
so you believe you'll sell the property for 4.5 million.
I'm shooting for 5.
We're hoping 5.
Yeah, 4.5 for sure, but
So-
probably 5 million.
So you're trying to double your money on this one or
Uh,
close to it.
Yeah,
I know we'll
my-
be about
my-
400,000
My
short.
all in expenses after interest and sales or closing costs will be about 3 million. So anything north of 3 million is profit.
Right. So anything with a 4 on it would be fantastic. Anything with a 5 on it would be
Home run.
home run. We're taking the jet and baby, we're going to wherever the heck you
Yeah.
want to go, right?
Yep, it's happening.
And
for
we're
sure.
bringing a bunch of people that we can consult with along the way.
Yep. So it doesn't cost
Let-
us anything.
yeah. Only you and me and as many people can get in the back seat
Yeah.
because this is a long trip.
Yep.
All right. So what's your biggest strengths, both of you? And I'm going to start with Vera.
I think I'm a nonlinear thinker, so I can solve problems that in ways that people don't think of solving them. I can look at more big picture also.
So you're a problem solver and you see your way out of problems.
Yeah. I guess it sounds terrible, but yeah.
No, that's great. I think
Yeah.
it's one of the best skill sets to have. If you only see problems, you're stuck.
Yeah.
What about you?
I have 2. I'm not scared of anything,
Okay.
and I can see things before they happen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you my next question. It's going to follow this one. Very funny. What's your biggest fear? But you're not scared of nothing. So, but do you have any fears?
A snake.
Okay.
Don't like snakes.
Okay. So,
I can handle them, but I don't like them.
okay. And you, Vera?
My biggest fear is, gosh,
It's always a tough one. I do that on every interview question.
it's probably to be broke because I've been broke and
Okay.
I won't ever allow it again.
The broke mentality is a good one to have when I always, we talked about this last time. I wake up broke.
Yep, me too.
I wake up broke.
That's why I don't have any fear, because if I go to work every day, I continue to make money. I can pay my bills.
Right.
Like there's no fear.
What would you give if someone out here is, under the age of 30 years old or even if they're 40, how old are you?
I'm going to be 40 this year. I'm 39 right now.
So you basically are restarting your business at a different level. You've done a lot of stuff. You've built a huge skill set. You can do pretty much anything construction wise. And Nick is, when I tell you, like, he literally has flipped besides me. I asked you a few times to do this. But besides me, you probably heard through the grapevine that I was cost effective. But besides me, you've worked for a lot of like Josh Galindo, Ryan Pineda, the Boakley brothers, Phil and Tom's
Yep.
dad, the
Right,
Boakley,
yeah.
and the Boakley brothers.
Yep. All the hedge funds.
Seniors, yeah.
All the hedge funds. You've got a tremendous skill set, and now you're making big moves for yourself. I didn't hear anything about buying rentals.
Well, that's a great story.
I'm pushing him for that.
So when I got divorced, I was basically left. This was in 2019. I had a ton of liquid, and I had an option to either keep the businesses, basically, right, or have splitness and have cash. And I decided the businesses will always pay me. They're
Right.
built, they'll always pay me. So I took the businesses and not the cash.
Okay.
I was already basically retired in 2018.
Okay.
I was actually lending hard money. You had a podcast in here, and actually, I'm not going to say who it was, but I do hard money notes. Like, so I had passive income with my money, right?
Right.
Because I was doing hard money notes that come in every single month. So I was actually doing hard money before, and I didn't really want rentals at that time in my life
Right.
because I was okay having liquid and I could make passive income off of my hard money.
Okay.
So
the divorce killed
the
that.
divorce killed it. And I said, okay, I am going to build a service business that pays me $10 million a year net
Okay.
in the next 18 months so that all of it's set up. I have this passive income with people in place that when I wake up, this is what I make.
Right.
And there was only two ways for me to do it. It was to be in 5 markets, and it was for me to get into luxury real estate and do X amount in each market. So I found what I need to do in each market. I'm in the middle of rebuilding those since my divorce. We're about 6 months away from hitting our goals. And at that point, my income will be very well. Okay. Now, what I was doing in the process of that was not only having a large amount of income, but what I wanted to do in all the markets is I wanted to be able to acquire a lot of houses. And when I do rentals, I want to do it at a high level and
Okay.
quickly because I need to make up time, right?
Right.
So if I'm in all these markets, I build up to where I'm buying 50, 60, 70 houses a month wholesale.
Right.
I build the contractors as I'm flipping. All I have to do is flip the switch next year when I hit my goal. And what happens is instead of wholesaling these and flipping them, I turn them into rentals.
Right.
I only wholesale and flip enough to pay my base overhead.
I like
okay.
it. I like buy 2, keep 1.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
my rule. Buy 2, keep 1.
Yeah. So
That's a good idea.
if I literally, that's the thing is if I'm buying 600-700 houses a year, I can build 200-300 rentals a year.
Correct.
Instead of doing the flips, which I'm doing about 250 flips right now.
Right.
Instead of doing those will just be rentals. I'll put the contractors from flips to rentals. And in a 4 to 5 year period, I'll be at my 1,000 homes like you.
Correct.
But the rebuild is what I had to do. And that's why I'm not buying rentals right now.
You know, if you can rebuild it, it's not a big deal. If you can't rebuild it, it becomes a big deal. So what tips do you have for younger people who are out there who are listening to you? They're hearing all the success that you guys are having. They're hearing the failures that you've had. And what tips would you give someone like who's just starting, who's scared, who doesn't know what to do? What would you tell them to do?
Well, first thing I do is you have to make a commitment to wanting to be rich.
Mhm.
Most people can't make the commitment to wanting to be rich.
Okay.
If you can't make a commitment, I can give you 1,000,000 tips. But if you're not willing to commit, my tips are worthless. Number one.
That's a great answer because
Yeah.
how many people just want to hear you talk?
Oh, all of them. They all just sit here and watch and they never do anything. And they think it's easy. It's not
And
easy.
even if there's a formula that we tell you, if you're not willing to, because the truth, we can talk about, oh, let's outsource this and that. You have to first grind.
Right.
Yep.
There's that grind period when you have nothing
100.
and you have to grind, and to grind, you have to give up everything.
Yep.
You
So
kind of have
the-
to put family, friends, life aside and
Yes.
grind.
So here's the tip. Okay. First, you have to commit. I committed to building 1,000 rentals, but I committed to rebuilding my business to a certain thing before I bought rentals. So you have to commit. I'm on a grind right now, and it was an 18-month grind that we figured out to be able to buy the jet, do all these things, and be able to get to the point where we could build 1,000 rentals in 5 years, right? So first, you have to commit. That's my number one tip. Number two, you need to have something that can pay you enough money to pay your bills in every single moment that you're not working on that thing to pay your bills. You need to figure out how to wholesale real estate. And you better work nights, mornings, weekends, lunch breaks, and you better commit to a year. Until you get a deal, you don't get paid. So instead of going out at night, instead of doing things, going and seeing your friends and, going to the park with your kid, if you want to be rich, which you have to commit to, you have to commit to the commitment of a year of having no life, in my mind, to be able to get yourself over the hump to where you can quit that job or whatever it is that's paying you, to where it pays you enough to now you have enough confidence to leave that and go do something in real estate.
That was probably one of the best answers I've heard. It took you a little while to get there, but the finale is perfect. You got to commit to whatever it is. You got to commit to your success. You got to commit to be. So somebody told me this the other day is, you know what fear stands for? False evidence appearing real.
Yep.
And we all are crippled by some sort of a fear of something, whether it's, the fact that I got to go back and start over, the fact that I got, I've already done all this, I got to redo it again, or I'm going to get sued, or this is going to happen. But if you start thinking in solutions and how can I's and what am I capable, and you nurture your brain with that type of thing, and you, like you said, you eliminate those friendships where those people don't support that role and they're like talking down to you and stuff like that. You want to surround yourself with people who are propping you up and telling you can do things and giving you the attaboys. And that's why you're with Vera right there, because she's pushing you to where she sees your potential that you didn't even see.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I have family coming to town for Thanksgiving, right? I don't have to go work.
Right.
I'm taking Thanksgiving Day. I'm on a podcast the day before Thanksgiving out of town. Then I'm home for Thanksgiving. And then I'm getting on a plane for 6 days to go work. While everybody else is having fun, I'm setting up these massive businesses and I'm willing to make that commitment. That's the kind of commitment that I'm talking about.
Right. Right. So Vera, what would your advice be for a young lady or a young man getting started in real estate based on all of your experience?
I think on a much more simple level, because I agree with everything he's saying, and that's pretty much the steps I took in my life to get to where I'm at. But number one thing is become obsessed with real estate. Try to learn everything you can about it. Before I even ever started doing it, I was just obsessively watching the market. And if you really truly understand the market of wherever you're buying, whether it's your city or it's another city, and you see the trends and how something that looks like this will end up selling in X amount of time for this much money. And you can look up, Zillow has everything in all these websites, right? You can look up what a property costs already. There's a lot. Just watch the market and analyze it. And then you will be able to find the little houses that you will be able to buy and then make money off of, whether you're going to rent it or flip it.
That's great. So basically understand how to find a deal.
Yeah.
Look at, so that when you understand the market well enough that when something pops up, that's a good deal, you can take action.
Yeah. Instead of being on social media, you should be on
like she told me for 3 years, she was just watching properties buy and sell and buy and sell and buy and sell.
Like obsessively.
Like obsessively.
Like while
and
people are on Facebook, that's what I'm doing.
Like, and
at any given moment in between, like
her first flip was
anything.
$750,000 and she made $100,000 on her first flip.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she outbid everybody else because she knew the market.
Yeah. And I was in a room with all these men and male investors. And they didn't see the value in it. And I knew it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a home run. I'm getting it.
Well, that's awesome. You guys have been fantastic. I appreciate both of you guys coming in here. If you had anything else to say, I guess this would be the time. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up.
I just want to tell everybody, no matter what you do, you need to do a couple things. Number one, you need to be active on social media. Even if you're posting in front of a house, okay, and saying, I'm going to try to buy this or whatever. If you're going to get into real estate, be active on social media. Me and you made big mistakes. And I'm going to give hats off to Ryan Pineda. That guy has blown us out of the water.
Right.
And he hit it at the right time. And he's it's just brought so much success to him.
Right. 100%. That's what he's the reason I'm in it.
Yeah. Make sure you do social media from the beginning, even if you're not flipping anything. So people just know somebody will catch on.
Well, it definitely increase your exposure to people in the business.
I want to say that. And I also want to say one other thing. I've failed many times in my life.
Right.
And I just had a point with my luxury flips where we got strapped where I didn't write the notes right with release and construction draws. And I'm going really quick. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to come up with $500,000 I wasn't planning on because the way they all landed, right?
Right.
Normally I take my construction draw at the end.
Okay.
So I have like $2 million in construction draws wrapped up. So I had to go in and renegotiate my contracts
Oh boy.
so I could get funds moved. But I'm moving so quick at a higher level. I was used to being at the little level, like, oh, 40 grand, I could do 10 of those. It's 400,000. Well, all of a sudden I got these big ones going. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in $1 million and I'm not going to get draws and I have to go find another $1 million. I mean, we have it, but like, so
burying that cash in that house.
yeah, so I was just faced with that this last 2 weeks of my life. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do to go back and negotiate all of my loans and rewrite them so that I could keep moving at the pace that I wanted to move. So you make mistakes, even at my level,
Right.
you make mistakes. You can't give up, and hold your confidence, hold your ground, and hold your experience, and don't let people run over you.
Right. Just, that's great advice. If you're listening right now, make sure that you follow Nick Marietta and Vera Chamberlain on Instagram. They can find them both on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. Where else are you guys at?
Those are our channels.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a podcast coming soon.
You guys got a podcast
Yeah.
coming soon. I got a podcast studio that I might be renting out soon. So if you guys are interested in this one, let me know. I'm serious, 100%, because we are going to be relocating it to Kansas City eventually. It's not any sort of hurry or anything like that. I totally appreciate having you guys on. You guys have been delightful. You guys have shared a lot of experience. You got invulnerable. That's what we like. We're trying to, everybody out there has problems. Everybody out there has fears. Everybody out there has things that they're worried about. We try to tell people, get started, just get started, just get into it. Don't overthink it. And I think that's what you guys have demonstrated.
Yep. And Troy, your channels, you actually inspire me. I'm like, I'm not keeping up with Troy. I'm like, God, we have like same personality. I'm like, man, he's cruising. Like, I need to get moving.
Well, and I was thinking about that this morning because I've got you. I had Tyson coming in, you coming in, Ryan's coming in after you. And I'm like, thinking about I'm like, I got the coolest thing is I got all these guys that I look up to. And I was thinking about it like competition, like we all want to be more successful. Like you want to be more successful than me.
Yep.
I want to be more successful than you. But competition, as long as we're competing together, we all get to be successful.
Like I called you on that deal about that short sale when I was in the airport. Like I'd only talked to you once. We'd met or hadn't even met yet. And you helped me out and gave me advice on a short sale. And we're closing it in 2 weeks now.
Oh, good. I don't even remember what I said.
You gave me this advice, that advice, and do this. And we followed it and we're getting it closed.
Okay. Well, good. Yeah. I remember you calling me about the short sale, but that's the whole point, man. If we can compete, if we can share knowledge, if we can get our social media game, and who's inspiring me? Ryan.
Yep.
Like when I saw him, because I was helping him out with some real estate stuff, and then I saw him putting stuff out there, and I saw a bunch of other guys putting stuff out there that didn't know jack.
Yep.
And that's what inspired me. I was like, they don't know jack, and they're talking about it.
Yep.
And so I'm going to go out there and show what I've been doing for the last 10, 15 years and hopefully inspire some people. And to be honest with you, my ego was in the way because I was like, I had swore off social media for 10 years. Other than having like a fake account to check out employees and stuff like that. So I swore it off. And then when I saw Ryan go all in, knowing that and watch his business just take off. And I'm like, and my big long-term goal was to build a company and take it public. I said, social media is the way there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Social media is the way there. And I think you agree with me that social media is the way you want to go if you're trying to get your personal brand out there.
Yep. It's the only way to go.
Right. So thanks, guys, for tuning into the Troy Kearns Channel podcast, where we talk about all things real estate, business, and entrepreneurship. We had our good friends, Vera Chamberlain and Nick Marietta today in the studio. We will link down to their Instagram so you can follow them on TikTok, Instagram, and we appreciate having them in. Peace.